right, guys, welcome to the Buyers Box podcast where we talk all things buyers. Today we have Miss Stacy Stahl with Realty One Group Destination down in Key West. We're so excited to have you on this show, Miss Stacy. For our listeners, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Stacy Stahl, and I am a broker down in Key West, Florida. I've been with Realty One Group for just over 4 years. I'm extremely active at the local, state, and national level. And last year, I was the Leadership Academy chair for NAR. So definitely,
Wow.
yeah, definitely involved, and both feet right in. But it took a while. I mean, it was not an overnight thing, but definitely something I'm very passionate about.
Okay, well, let's kind of talk about that a little bit. I kind of like to start out with like people's origin story, how they got in the business, maybe how you came to Key West and things like that.
Sure. So I grew up in northern New Jersey, born and raised, went to college outside of Massachusetts, and my family had a vacation home in the Keys from, I don't know, the time I was maybe like in high school. And we would come down on vacation. My parents had this little house down on Big Pine Key, and we'd come down, and I'm here to tell you it was roughing it for us. Like back in New Jersey, we had cable TV, and we'd come down here and they had this like translator that shot the signal of TV down from Miami, and we only had like three channels. I mean, just
Wow.
shoot me, right?
Okay.
Teenager hated it.
Yeah.
You come to love the area, and it's really grown. So I've been coming down to the Keys for many years, and then decided that, I wanted to be here and raise my family here. So relocated to the Keys over 35 years ago, maybe now.
Okay.
For a couple, lived in North Carolina for a couple years and said, no, 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 we got to get back to Florida. So been down here, got licensed about 25 years ago now, I think, off the top of my head.
Okay.
And, yeah, I became a broker 4 years ago. I had gotten my broker's license years before, but opened my own company with Realty One Group 4 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, we're with Realty One Group as well. Definitely a great company.
Love it.
Very good camaraderie. We've been to a couple of the conferences so far. We didn't make it to Miami this year, but
Oh,
did you go?
I did. I
Yeah,
was
so
there.
close. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
excited to actually not have to be the one who has to fly across the country.
Yeah, same, right? Vegas is fun, but gosh, what a long flight. So, all right, so you got licensed. Sounds like you've been licensed for a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you start out as a single agent? Did you join a team? Like, tell me like the beginning years of being a new licensee.
So I was a new licensee, and like many people, I was a part-time licensee originally.
Okay.
I had my family and I had a little card and gift shop kind of thing down here in the Keys, and I decided I wanted to do real estate. I had known some other realtors, and back then, it was a very different business back then. But I joined a brokerage where my broker was an amazing man, and I really feel like I got a great foundation with him back in the day. And still to this day, I kind of think like, wow, I wish he would have done more like what he had said originally, but
Yeah.
you learn trial by fire, right?
Yeah.
Um, but he was great. Like he would come to our office and we would sit down and he would pull out, I know this is going to sound terrible, the VCR tape.
Whoa.
Put it in the VCR. Yes, I'm that old, kids.
All
That
right.
in the VCR, and we would watch like a motivational section from like a Zig Ziglar tape, and
Oh,
then we
wow.
would discuss it, right? And we would all discuss it. And then sometimes like he would come in and he would teach us about the best ways to look up, the tax records and things because back then it was microfiche that they brought to the office, and you literally had like this set of documents that would come in and like you'd had to learn how to look them up and make sure that you were looking at the right numbers for the right property at the right time. This also dates back to the little book where you had to look up the MLS listings. Yeah, a long time ago, but not really when you think about it, how
Yeah,
far we've come in 25 years.
of
But
course.
that was my origin. I mean, like literally working. My broker was fantastic with helping us getting our first listings. Um, and I kind of did that all, and then I left Florida
Oh, no.
and we relocated, and I stopped being a realtor. I went back to my original careers, which was a retail buyer. And I
Okay.
was buying for department stores again. My husband and I had relocated. And like I said, we were gone for a couple years and then we came back. And once we came back to Florida, I relicensed because silly me, I didn't keep up my license. I was in North Carolina.
Yeah. Where did
So
you go in North Carolina?
we lived in Cary.
Oh, gosh, right up the road from us.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Did you come to Myrtle Beach ever?
I was there once,
Okay.
and I used to be a buyer for Belk department
Okay.
stores. So, yeah, so I traveled the state. Actually, my area included West Virginia. I was a northern buyer, so like West Virginia and Maryland, and out to like Fayetteville and all of that. So, I mean, like that was all my
Yeah.
territory.
So like probably a lot of realtors, I think everyone has some past experiences or some past jobs that probably, gives us a skill now in our real estate business. How do you feel being a buyer for for such a big box company and maybe is translated into real estate for you?
The side that I find, aside from the personalities, of course, because when you're buying, whether it's, you're selling or buying a home or you're selling or buying clothing from a manufacturer, you're using those same interpersonal skills. But one of the things that I really value now that I did back then was the analytical side of things. I used spreadsheets every day, which I don't do anymore. I mean, I do use them, but not to that degree. But literally analyzing how many tops in red, white, and green were sold in this particular category in this store, so that we could then speak with our planners and replenish the right amount of inventory to the right stores. So, in a nutshell, it's definitely the analytical side that really transferred over in a different way than you might assume from being a
Okay.
realtor.
Yeah, I could definitely second that. We have several spreadsheets, and one of the coolest things that we do now is, we'll take those spreadsheets and we'll put them into Chat GBT,
Yeah.
and it's so crazy. I'm sure a lot of retailers are probably using AI now to figure out what to replenish and restock. And
Oh, I'm sure it's got to be so much easier.
oh, absolutely. All right, so North Carolina, back to the Keys. Sounds awesome. You got back into real estate. Did you stay a single agent? Did you grow a team? Like, where did you go from there?
So when I came back to the Keys, I actually I had helped my parents get licensed. My father, I helped him get licensed when I got licensed. He was selling timeshares for a little bit and had moved on while I was out of the Florida. So then he brought mom in to help him. So when I came back, I joined them. So we had a family team,
Nice.
and we didn't operate necessarily in the truest sense of team, like you all are a team.
Yeah.
You and your group, we didn't do that. I mean, this was family, mom, dad, me. So it was more like being a single agent with benefits of, we did things together and helped each other out.
Okay, that's super cool.
Is
Me and my wife run our team, and I've not been in. Well, I guess I kind of did some business with family in the past. Group and a family ran diner, so I'm sure there's plus and minuses about working with family. And how long did that kind of stint last for you guys? Like,
my parents still come into the office. This is now my business, but they still come to the office like once a week or so, or sometimes even a little more or less, depending on what their schedule is. But they are still licensed. They come in and they just, maintain some relationships with some of their friends and past customers. But at this point, it is really they're retired, so.
that's awesome. All right. So I like to kind of talk about with people, as they kind of grow and they scale their business and they're doing different things. Like, what's that first hire that most people kind of make? And or I've kind of even been positioned this question as like now because there's so much AI and everything else. Like maybe if it wasn't a hire, what was the first piece of technology that you used maybe to really kind of help leverage your time to be able to help more buyers or sellers?
I think it's kind of funny. Is ever evolving, right? Business and technology. Years ago, we were laughing about, how I had like the little microfiche and you had to learn that. Well, computers came in and we had to learn that. And fax machines, which I mean, I used to have to drive from my home, go up, fax something, which would take an hour and a half to fax,
Wow.
18 or 20 pages to someone. So every new piece of technology, you've got to take something from it and use it and
Yeah,
do it better. So, I mean, I've been through the whole advent of all of that stuff. And now today, I'm still very active in making sure that I'm trying to do new things and what's best for my business. So, My father had the wonderful foresight to buy the website Key West Condos.
Mm.
So keywestcondos.com. And it's kind of funny is I've revamped it a couple times, and literally this afternoon I've got my web guy coming in because I want to do a refresh on it and make it AEO
Yeah.
compatible as well as SEO. So we're gonna go, and I've got some ideas, and I've read and learned, and that's just it. You've got to keep on learning. You can't just go, I can't figure out SEO or I can't figure out AI. You know what? My chat and I, we have great conversations.
I
But
love it.
seriously, that's what you have to do. So now that's my next step is making sure that Key West Condos is able to generate business for me in today's market, because right now it does its job, but it needs to do a better job for me.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
what. Yeah.
that's awesome. Having a good domain name is so important. And, for someone like myself, I'm pretty techy and we have several different websites but, gosh, I started in the business about 7 years ago. And a lot of the domain names that were really, really good were already taken.
Yeah,
So to have such a great domain name, especially for your market, is amazing. And I'm sure just having it for that long a time, you probably get some organic leads probably trickling in.
of course.
So I guess that kind of leads me to like lead generation. So, you're in I almost think maybe somewhat similar to us at the beach because it's the second home market, but like all on its own very different because you're out on an island. So, what does your lead generation look like, and how are you attracting buyers and sellers to come work with you?
So, aside from all of the tools that everybody has and uses and shares, between websites and, I'm not big on buying leads. I'm sorry, that's not my style. It's not my thing. I know other people do. And maybe they get better business or bigger business because of that, but that's not where my business has ever come from. My business has always come from referrals, meeting people, and personal relationships. The benefit of having a Key West Condos type website, that all adds in. I mean, trust me, there are leads that come in from all of your traditional venues. But with my service to Florida Realtors and NAR over the past 10 years, I've made a name for myself there too as a valued professional. And that makes a big difference because when you look at like referral groups and somebody says, oh, who's in the Keys? There's a good majority of people that will now say my name.
Mm, that's
And to me, that is true value and true lead generation, right? Because people are your cheerleader and are representing and using your name in the best possible way.
yeah,
So that's a lot of my lead gen. I've had actually 3 or 4 recent very large referrals. And it's all because of the company I keep in, and who I know and how I represent myself and our island and our business.
nice. Okay. So, maybe for some of our listeners that like want to build a business around that, like what are you doing? Maybe whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, like how are you fostering those relationships outside of some of the elective services that you've kind of done, for the organization? Like, are you calling up these referral partners, checking in on them? Like, what are you doing?
So I actually did a revamp of my newsletter about a year ago, and it has gone from, the traditional click, click, to significant viewership. And I did it because it's pretty. It's eye-catching and it's got good information. It's an opening with a great picture and a hi. It's, February in Key West, and this is, beautiful weather, and here's our market condition. And then there's a picture of whichever house I want to feature, and you can click on it and see it. And then I go into here's what's happening, in the month of February in Key West, and a couple of select events, nothing crazy. And I don't link to the events, and people say, oh, you should link to the events. And I'm like, no, this is my newsletter. I want you to see the value of what I'm providing without leaving me.
I like
So
that.
I know that people like that or don't like that. That's my own personal philosophy on this. And that's what it is. And then I go into a market recap. And you know how you said AI? Well, we used to have to look at our market summary and then obviously we know what we're talking about, but like you really need to know what you're talking about. Like you need to be able to sit here and say, in January, our average sale price was, when I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget because I wanted to give you real numbers. Our average list price was 1.9 million.
Wow.
Our median list was 1.4 million. Our average days on the market were 84. Our median were 54. But how do you analyze that? You have to know how to take those words and put it into language that your customers understand. It's got to be professional and understandable. And now with AI, you can take your market summary for the month, put that into AI. And I'm not saying just use AI. I'm saying use it to tell, you can tell it what you want it.
Yeah,
Please give me a summary of these so that everyone can understand the highs and lows of our market or whatever you want to say. And I let AI do that. And then I go back and check because I
of
refuse to do
course.
something that I haven't checked.
Yeah.
Refuse because it's my
Okay.
name. Remember, we talked about that.
Yeah.
So you really want to make sure that you're putting out your best work. So you go back and you verify that, and then you put that in your newsletter. And then maybe you make a nice little closing, kind of comment, if you're ready to buy or sell, and little blurb on that and contact me. Every month without fail, I get emails from somebody telling me how much they enjoy my newsletter, what a great feature, what great information. Thank you so much for sharing. Boom. And that is one big piece of outside of contact. The other part is, of course, emailing people, maybe a text. I'm not huge on making 20 calls a day. Some people are. It's not my thing. I run a brokerage. I have
Yeah.
agents that work for me. Not that I don't have time, but that's not my style. But if I think of someone right away, I
Nice.
text them because they were in my mind. And
Yeah.
if you do that on a regular basis, those people are going to get to, be remembering you and calling you back. And then, of course, I have my CRM that I love, and everybody's got to have one that they love, right?
Yeah. Speaking of CRM, and maybe I'm pulling a question out later on, but what CRM do you use?
I use Cloze, Cloze.
Okay. I've
Um,
seen that.
I love it because it it made my life easier. I had a huge database. We used to use Act. I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember Act, but
I've not
that's
heard of that one.
right. Okay, see, this is where I'm really old again.
All right.
But we used to use ACT and we built a gigantic database and it used to have all these comments in there and great, but I hated it. And then they morphed it and it went bye-bye. But I still had all those email addresses. And so what happened was is I found Close and I was able to throw all those old email addresses in there. But what it does is it pulls any new contact you have. It's attached to my emails. So let's just say I emailed you today and you weren't in my database already. That email's now enclosed for me.
Perfect.
You call me, I have your phone number. I can quickly go to my app if I want and add a couple of notes if I need to. And then it does more because I keep it open on my screen. Obviously, you've got to use your CRM, right?
Yeah.
So I keep it open on my screen and it tells me like you have to make a few more calls, or you've already exceeded, contacting people all day, kind of thing. And it has just little blurbs. I mean, it's nothing. I find it to be not annoying. Let's put it that way. It's not like in your face, like, oh my gosh, you've got to.
Right.
Some days we do, some days we don't, and that's okay. But what it does is it tells me the next day, then, like, well, now you got to make 20 calls instead of 10 or whatever that number is.
Yeah.
But it also tells you, like, maybe you need to reach out to these people, but it also manages your deals. So for me, it was a no-brainer. And then what's even better is when I do get a new email address, I have a Zapier that puts it right into my email program so they will get the next newsletter when it comes out.
Well, look at you using
I
all the
know,
tech. I love it. All
right?
right.
And it's fun stuff. So,
So speaking of your newsletter, because look, newsletters can be huge, and
yeah.
um, I think email is super important, and a lot of agents, including myself, sometimes like it's always kind of like the bottom of my totem pole. Like I've always said, call, text, email is usually my, typically for me conversion. I've always been a phone guy, and that's just me. But
That's
what platform are you using to send out that newsletter?
So I actually stumbled across Flowdesk,
Okay.
and it's Flodesk. It is actually designed for more for somebody who wants to sell something. So like you would click on it and you would get maybe like a newsletter or a like a downloadable item or whatever. And then you can put them into different silos to resend certain things. I liked their format. I liked their look, and I liked the ability that if I wanted to add on, different silos, I could do that. I
Okay.
haven't because I literally use it for my email, my newsletter once a month, and then I use it like if I want to send out certain property, to agents or whatever, and I want it to look a certain way.
Okay. Now, obviously, in like the day of age that we're in, deliverability is a huge thing,
Yeah.
whether it's your phone, your text message, or your email. So, are you sending out those emails from your primary email address, or are you using a secondary email?
No, I have well, I have two email addresses that I use. Both of them are interchangeable. They do not connect though.
Okay.
Um, so I do have two separate programs. I have a Gmail and I have one that goes into an Outlook, and that's just the way that I chose, over the years it kind of morphed.
Okay.
Um, but the flow desk goes out, and it comes from my QS Condos email. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So getting people back to that website probably, which is definitely helpful. And
Yeah. And I have sold by Stacy and stacystahl.com. I mean, like I've got the right,
yeah,
you can hit me on any of those, kind of
I
thing.
love it. Okay. All right. So newsletter is huge. I out of everyone we brought on the show, like you're probably one of the first ones that brought up a newsletter. And gosh, we didn't even talk about this before. I could probably ask so many questions, but I think leveraging something that you can repeatedly do every month, consistently, I think is probably the huge key to say there as well, is so important. And finding your thing. Because look, what might be my thing or your thing might not be everybody's thing. And I think that's what's so great about real estate is, we can all thrive doing different things. So
Absolutely.
I guess, this kind of leads me into some of my next question. Is there, been in the business for a while, you're a broker now, you got agents under you, like what mistakes are you seeing agents do on around lead generation, whether it's newsletters, calling, whatever they're doing?
Not doing it, not being consistent. I mean, like I'm preaching to the choir, right? I mean, everybody's heard this before. This is not news, but
Yeah.
it's your consistency. I've got a newer agent on our I say our team. I do not run a team in my brokerage, but I say my team because that's how I feel about our group. We are a team.
Nice.
As an example, really quickly, I'm going to throw this out there. In my office, if you're on vacation and you need help, like somebody needs to show a listing, we show it for you. There's
Nice.
no expectation of any type. Now, if it's more than just a showing or something, you can make arrangements with somebody, but there's no expectation of that. It's like, I'm going to help you. And then when you're away, you're going to help me.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, end of discussion. So we run it in that type of team manner, but it is
Good.
not a team. But I have a new agent on my team, and you know, we talked about her goals this year and stuff, and she's like, I'm gonna call 3 people a day, do da da da, whatever I'm gonna do. And I check in with her once in a while. Well, this morning she just texted me, got someone pre-approved today. I'm like, good. Like you've got to maintain, whether it's 2 people or 10 people or whatever your goal is, you have to do whatever you're doing and do it consistently.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
love,
just, and it's not just one thing.
yeah. Oh, I tell everybody the work works. Like pick the one thing and just do so much of it that undeniably you're going to be successful.
And, and the other thing too is find what makes your heart sing, okay? Because what I want to do and the area or the group that I want to go after, I have to want to do that.
Yeah.
I've tried to, oh, well, I'm going to be, no. The more mature in your business you get, the more you will realize that you'll find your niche, you'll find your people, and they will
Mhm.
love you back because you've been so good to them. So you really need, to love what you're doing and find that niche.
All right. Well, speaking of niche, what is
Mhm.
yours?
So I have two.
Okay.
I do a bit of luxury, and I did CLHMS on One Lux, CLHMS Elite, that I do that. But my bread and butter is still condos.
Really?
Yep. And
That
so we don't have a lot of condo buildings here on the island. So about a year ago, I started a marketing program using Real Marketing, and I did do their neighborhood stats brochure. And if you haven't seen it, it's a beautiful piece that arrives in the mailboxes, and it's a flyer, open closed flyer. So it's, four
nice.
sides, and it's branded to me. It's got, here's the stats for sales this month, and, a little bit of some other kind of stat, whatever they're going to pull. I send them all the data, and they produce this beautiful brochure, and they mail it to the mailing list that I've provided to them for, three key buildings in my area. And, I've already gotten a few listings now from that. So, it's already paid for itself for the year.
That's great. Do you have like a co-sponsor in the back with a lender or anything, or is
Nope,
it all Stacy? I
just
love it.
Stacy.
All right,
Yep,
that's good.
just me.
Okay. So man, you're doing newsletters, you're doing mailers, you're doing all the things that agents have gotten away from, and you're still staying successful with it. So I love to hear that.
Well, I think the other part too is in a community like ours, and probably like yours too, not all of your owners are local.
True.
We have snowbirds, or we have people that this is a second or third or fourth home for them.
Yeah.
Some of it's, income, not we don't have as many maybe short-term rentals, but it's still income. People come down for a couple months and spend exorbitant amounts of money to stay in their condo, what have you.
Yeah.
I mean, so to reach those people, there's nothing better, in my opinion, than putting something in front of them in their hands every
Yeah.
month.
Yeah. That's so important to think about. It's funny that, I started initially thinking, I'm an investor, invest in real estate, have some rentals, and I initially started working out with investors, especially in the ocean and condos, because we have a ton of condo buildings here. And I quickly realized that that did not make my heart sing.
Yeah, I
So
get it.
my niche kind of fell into like relocation and retirees.
Oh, wonderful.
And I kind of started thinking like, man, how did I really end up there? But like, I was raised by my grandparents,
Hmm.
super close with them. Really enjoy spending time with the older generation of people. And I just connected with them really well. And, I feel like when you're working with that demographic of people
Hmm.
at that stage in life, they're really just looking for most of the time a really good experience, right?
Yes.
It typically isn't a discount in service, anything like that. They just want a really good experience. And as long as you provide that experience, they're going to tell everybody about you and they become
Exactly.
raving fans.
Hmm.
And I think, you kind of talked about early on about leads and buying leads. And gosh, our team buys more leads than we know what to do with. And I tell all of our agents, I'm like, look, take these leads to create a business, to
Hmm.
create a brand. Like you can have your brand within our organization. Heck, that's why we took our last name off of our team. We used to be Burnett Investment Group.
Yeah.
And now we're the secure home finder team. Like we want people to know they have a secure place to shop.
Hmm.
And, allow our agents to really kind of brand themselves and develop a long-term, relationship with past clients and referrals and all the other things. So I guess kind of wrapping up, Miss Stacy, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, so far. Is there any tips and tricks that you've kind of learned along the way, being in the type of market that you're in, dealing with second homes or people that might not be there that, maybe another agent somewhere else, doesn't deal with because, it's more of a primary home market as opposed to yours.
I think the big thing is making sure that you're showing up for your customer in the way they need. So if I'm dealing with someone who is depending on me to get things done for them because they're not here, then I show up with my, like my hat on with, okay, who do we need? We need a contractor, we need a cleaning girl, we need the termite guy, whatever that is, and being going that extra step with them, Um, and it's funny is it doesn't matter which price point. Everybody needs that, whether they're buying a $500,000 condo or a $3 million house. If they're not here, they need you and
Yeah.
they need you to show up for them in the best way. Um, Making sure that you are explaining everything to the satisfaction of the customer. Don't dismiss what they're saying because maybe they don't understand. Um, I fall into a little bit of a trap sometimes because I used the word termites before, right? Well, we're on a little island. The termites live here. They've lived here forever. They're going to still live here. We joke around when we get swarms that the houses are held together by wings because older homes, wood, it
Yeah.
happens, right?
Yeah.
But we make light of it. But for a customer that's coming from somewhere else, when they hear the word termites, it can be very unsettling. And
Yeah.
for us, it's like, it's not a big deal. So making sure that you are giving the best of yourself to your customer because maybe they don't understand the locality lingo that you might be using or the idea of, like flooding for us is, hey, we deal with it. Yeah, we're an AE. Okay. Um, but if they're not used to those types of things, you really have to make sure that you are hand holding to their need to give them that comfort level because they're not here and you
Yeah.
want to close and you want to get them over the finish line.
Yeah, we have subterranean termites here.
Yes.
So very similar. I realized really early on too not to use like acronyms for things.
Yeah.
Like things that we deal with it all day long, but whether it's their first purchase or their 100th purchase, like they're not doing it every day typically for the most part. You start saying, things that doesn't make sense. So I kind of second that as well. So I guess wrapping up, kind of some rapid fire questions. We already kind of covered the best CRM. So in your business, you really like close.
I do. I love it.
Is there a daily metric in your business that you track to know that you're going to stay on target or on pace for your goals?
I personally give myself grace and I don't track every day. And I know that that sounds, maybe lackadaisical to some people, and that's okay. Not everybody is going to look at their numbers every day. For me, I tend to look at a weekly, like, have I reached out to enough people this week? Have I done enough calls, enough emails? And that's really where my close numbers come into play because I will look at that and say, oh gosh, I really slacked or I was running around so much showing houses or dealing with my agent and, helping them get across the finish line that I forgot to take care of my own customer, building needs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like to me, that's more where I am with it. I am not a daily, like I must do this, but I will tell you that everything that I need to do becomes an appointment in my calendar. I don't believe in a to-do list because to-do lists are easily crossed off.
Yep.
Appointments are not. So, I mean, I'm sorry to point at you, but appointments are not.
I love it. No worries.
Sorry. But no, like if you have it scheduled in your calendar, you stand a much better chance of doing it. So my calendar is always full of the little items that I need to do. So like yesterday, as an example, was, President's Day. I did not come to the office. I said, I'm going to work from home. I'll do a couple things, but I made sure I did them. And I had, like 3 or 4 little things in there too, like send a letter for this, do a thing for that. But I had little appointments in my calendar that were all attended to because they were in my calendar and I had to do my appointments.
Yeah. We tell friends, family, our children, hey, if it doesn't end up on the calendar, it does not happen.
Exactly, exactly.
And it's something that, especially our kids, because we have my Allie and I, we have four. So, we feel like a taxi driver half the time trying to get them to all the things. And we're
Mhm.
like, look, guys, we need to know about it ahead of time to put it in the calendar so we don't block something else there. So,
Exactly.
all right, I guess last question for you, Miss Stacy. Is there a book that maybe changed your business life or your personal life that you'd like to share?
So I do a lot of reading, but most of the time I do reading for fun. I use it to get away so that my brain can relax.
Yeah.
But I do like to read a little bit of self-help stuff here and there. So I recently read the Let Them theory, which I think is great. Let them,
Yeah.
let me do this, let you do that. But I just started, I'm gonna pull it over here because I
Yeah.
just got it. Sell Like Crazy. Oops, there it
Oh,
is.
I love it.
And it is by Sabri Suby, Sabrisuby. And this, he was advertising this as a free, this is how I live, how I made all my money, blah, blah. I'll send it for you for free for $2.99 shipping or something like that. And
Nice.
funny story, another broker owner from Realty One and I, she had posted a picture of her with this book. I'm like, I just got this book. So now we're like, okay, we're going to read, we're going to mark the heck out of it, and we're going to talk and we're going to compare notes on it. So, I mean, like, whatever you're going to read, take something from it. If nothing else, like, even if this turns out to be like, blah, blah, I don't like it, there will be something in here that I can use. And I know
Yeah,
that. And I
I
do
love
that with
it.
every book. So, I mean, it may not be the resounding like, oh, you have to read this, because I don't know yet. I'm only like 15 pages into this one so far. But,
So far, a good read though?
you know what? It's interesting so far. I mean, I haven't really gotten to the meat of it yet, so I
Okay.
can't really. Yeah, I'm not like, oh, you've got it, because I'm not that far in yet.
I'm more of an Audible guy. If
Uh,
I read a book at night, it puts me to sleep. So definitely, driving around in between appointments, I just put a book on or podcast or something like that. So
so living on such a small island, I mean, my car trips are 5 to 7 minutes. I don't get to do Audible. I listen to music, I blast it loud, and I clear my brain for a few minutes. That's all the time I have on the car.
are you most like not to keep hammering your questions, but are you mostly like only selling in Key West or are you covering most of the keys?
So the keys are 120 miles long from tip to tip, and it takes about 2.5 hours to drive the whole length of the keys.
Yeah.
So I actually, my brokerage, I have an agent that handles the upper keys. She lives up in Isla Morada. And so she does Key Largo, Isla Morada, all the way down through like Key Colony Beach and Marathon. And
Okay.
then personally, I mean, like, I've lived as far north as Big Pine, so I will do from Key West up to the 7 Mile Bridge, basically. So I do all
Okay.
the lower keys, she does all the upper keys. Most of my agents in the office are in the lower keys in Key West. A couple will do Marathon, but so Chrissy's our upper keys gal, and the rest of us are down here, and we can handle anything in the keys.
Divide and conquer. I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, Stacy, it's been an absolute pleasure. If anyone wanted to reach out to you, whether to work with you or to partner, in your brokerage with you, what's the best contact?
My email, Stacy, Stacy, at keywestcondos.com. That
Perfect.
is absolutely number one way to get hold of me.
All right. Well, Stacy, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with me today. And hopefully next time I'm down in Key West, I can stop by and say hi.
I would love that. Nice to see you. And if anybody is down this way, please feel free to stop by.
Talk to you soon.
Take care.